You are more than your title. 'Tis the season of everybody graduating, having kids, getting married. It's officially almost summer. With that, you are more than the title that you were given. One thing that was stressed the 3 out of my 4 years in my college career was that I was more than a softball player. I was still a human being at the end of the day, and I still got to explore that side of myself. As I entered life post-grad, it probably was much easier for me to transition from a softball player to being a person at the end of the day. But not many people got that experience. So this is your reminder that you get to define who you are. You are more than the title that you were given. So today I will be going through ways that you can separate yourself from your title and be who you are. Number one, and I can't stress this enough, get a damn hobby. I preach about it a lot, but guess what? I have a hobby corner back there, and I actually have hobbies that I do every single day. So I feel like I'm more than capable and have a platform to speak on because I do live that out. Finding a hobby not only lets you separate like work life or athletics or being a student, whatever it is, to being yourself, it also allows you to make friends that also probably have similar hobbies. And I'm not gonna say this because I'm anti-boring people, but I will say I've met plenty of boring people who don't have hobbies, and it does make a difference. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, I'm trying to be real. If you don't have a hobby, to me, you're kind of boring. Anyways, I've met people who don't have hobbies, and you can tell when you have a hobby, you have something to talk about all the time. And I'm not saying it's important to be interesting, but I am saying it's important to have things that you're interested in so that you have more to talk about and you just seem more level-headed when you have a hobby. I use a lot of my hobbies for like mental escapes or things that I could just focus on so that I don't have to be focusing on everything else that might seem more important in my day-to-day life. If you don't have something to separate your day-to-day from your life, it does cause burnout. And that's an unfortunate thing that's trending nowadays because people are jumping into jobs that are miserable, which is another suggestion. Find a job that you love, but also that's not the reality for most people. So find hobbies that you do love so that you can, separate yourself from being an employee, being an athlete, being a mother, being a father, being a son, being a daughter, whatever it is, your title that you feel like you have to take on. Separate yourself. To get back to the point I made about making friends from hobbies, number 2 is getting friends in different social circles. I started this habit when I was in high school because I couldn't talk to many athletes because I found them kind of like complaining about similar things that I was living through, but I didn't have to complain about them to feel like important, I guess. So I became friends with people who were in completely different realms of where I was primarily around, which was like softball and tennis and things like that. You are a sum of the top 5 people you are around the most. So I will never stop saying that, but it's just a good reminder that if you're not surrounding yourself with really good people, and that like being around people who aren't in your normal social circle, it'll benefit you in the long run. It also gives you more perspectives on things and allows you to be more, I don't know, you get to talk about different things with different people. Like I have my mentors, I have my friends, I have people I was teammates with, whatever it is, like I talk about these, like with these people, different things that we can both relate to. You almost get more of a personality from being around people that are different from you and live different lives. It's kind of like for me, I work in marketing, but I have friends in nursing, I have friends that are teaching, I have friends that are in med school, there's a wide spread of people that I get to talk to that I only talked about 2 professions, but the gist is that I have friends in different professions that I get to talk to and get to learn about their day-to-day, and I don't have to talk about what I'm going through in my day because I don't only talk to my coworkers, I talk to people who are my friends in other realms, to wrap that up, I guess. As much as it's awesome to socialize, and I will preach about that because I was anti social for a minute because I found it hard to make friends, and now it's getting easier, I guess. But number 3 is spending quality time alone. I'm really gonna highlight quality time because you can spend time alone, sure, but are you taking advantage of that time alone? Another thing, if you can't hang out with yourself in your 20s, what are you doing? I will say, and not so proudly admit, that I do judge people in their 20s if they can't be alone and they feel like they're like codependent on their friends or their relationships, whatever it is that they have to be with people in order to do something for themselves. So I'd say I'm not judging you if you, I won't say I'm judging. I guess I would just say that it takes a long time to get comfortable with being alone, because I feel like majority of our lives we've been around people who have been, in similar situations or in same circles that we hang around. But it is a very important quality to be able to spend time alone, because at the end of the day, it's you against yourself. Like, you are who you are around, and if you don't like the person you're around and it's you, then work on fixing that. For a long time in my mental health journey, I hated being alone because I didn't trust myself. Like, I didn't want to be around myself because I was mean to myself. Nowadays, I'm, super cool to be around. So whenever I'm alone, I love that time. Being away from people allows you to get to know yourself better. And like, you get to know who you are, what you like, what you love, what you don't love, and if you find it really hard to get alone time, especially if you're like a parent or if you are an athlete, I found it really hard to find alone time. But one of those things, then that goes to my next point, which is number 4, setting boundaries. I'm not gonna say I'm the best at setting boundaries, because I've definitely had to work on it, and I still have to work on it. I'm a recovering people pleaser, sue me. But I will say I'm able to say no when I need to say no. I feel like majority of my life I've been known to be a giver or somebody who will do favors because I love them. Like, I love acts of service. Like, I unironically think I'm more of an acts of service person than I am of anything else. But the thing is that with that, you get drained so fast when the wrong people choose to ask you all the time, oh, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. I need, like, it's an expectations thing. And without boundaries, I'd be drained, because I've been that person who was drained. So I will ask you this: where in your life do you feel like you can separate yourself, and where do you need to set a boundary in order to separate yourself from whatever your title is? If you're an athlete, where do you need to set boundaries to not be an athlete? If you're an employee, where can you respect yourself by setting boundaries and be with yourself, be with your friends, whatever it is? There's so many ways to apply this, but where do you need to be setting boundaries in order to spend more time with yourself? Or even spend time, doing hobbies, being with friends. Like, you need to be able to set boundaries in order to live a life that you want to live. And I say this almost to myself as well, because I feel like I can hold myself back a little bit, because I'm like, well, no, I need to do this. You don't need to do anything. You put a lot of power to other people when you feel like you need to be doing something. So all I gotta say is set that boundary wherever you need to be. The head message here is separate yourself from your title and allow yourself to do that. You don't want to be burnt out. You don't want to be stuck in this label because you feel like you have to. You want to live a life that you want to live. So with that being said, choose yourself. You are more than what other people have defined for you. If you can't define yourself, then you need to know yourself better. That's it for the message. Peace and love.